Hi gamers, and welcome to checking out the current state of my Mega Drive and Genesis game collection. Though I gotta warn you, I never owned Mega Drive as a kid. I never owned any Sega console as a kid, and neither did any of my friends, so we were all Nintendo guys. So I probably don't have that many anecdotes or fond memories of these games as I did on my previous NES video. So this will be mainly a list of what I got. So don't be mad. I still like the Mega Drive quite a bit, even though the Super Nintendo is the better of these two. Always has been, but I'm glad that I've gotten acquainted with Mega Drive and Genesis on my later years as a gamer and collector. And I know there are only 53 games here, so I'm missing quite a few, including all the Phantasy Star games. I only got the first game for the Master System, so no need to say you're missing this, you're missing that. I have a long shopping list that I have to still get for the Mega Drive, but this is just where I am now, so let's get to it. Afterburner 2, Sega did a fine job in porting many of their arcade franchises to their home consoles, Master System and Mega Drive and Saturn, and of course the Dreamcast after that, so this is just one of those many games. Then we have Aladdin. Of course this was released for the Super Nintendo as well, but still a really fine Disney platformer. Mega Drive didn't really get the Capcom ones that Nintendo got from the Disney platformers, but still some pretty nice games. Then we got Batman Returns, Castlevania The New Generation, known on the Genesis as Castlevania Bloodlines, and sadly this was quite a censored version here in Europe. Bloodlines is much bloodier, as the name would suggest, but still the only Castlevania on Mega Drive, and really a fine game at that. Cool Spot, one of those quirkier platforming heroes, not quite up to par with Mario and Sonic, and Cool Spot wasn't really anywhere to be seen after this generation, but still something a bit different from Mario and Sonic. Desert Strike, one of the Strike games from EA. There were also Urban Strike and Jungle Strike. I'm missing the Jungle Strike, but I do have Urban Strike coming there at the U. These are all in alphabetical order. Dungeons and Dragons, Warriors of the Eternal Sun, top-down RPG. Dynamite Duke. Then Dynamite Heady, a really quirky platformer from Treasure, the makers of Ikaruga, Radiant Silvergun, and other shoot-em-ups, but they also loved the Mega Drive this generation. Echo the Dolphin, and also Echo the Dolphin Tides of Time. I think of these as platforming games, even though you are a dolphin swimming in the ocean, but basically they follow the same pattern as platforming games, and I really gotta hand it to Sega for thinking outside of the box. Quite a unique game character and some really unique levels in these games. Eternal Champions, fighting game. Flintstones, platforming, as you might expect. Golden Axe 2, again one of those classic arcade games ported over. Really classic hack and slash scrolling game. Then another game from Treasure, Gunstar Heroes. Doesn't really need any introduction. One of the premier run and gun action games, side-scrolling games there has been, not just on Mega Drive but on any platform. Really classic stuff. Jurassic Park, quite a different game from the Jurassic Park on Super Nintendo. Then let's get this here now. Lethal Enforcers comes with the huge blue Justifier light gun, and here's also Lethal Enforcers 2 Gunfighters. So the first game was a modern game, and this is the Wild West. This little, really blurry digitized real human actors there, and you shoot them around. Pretty impressive back in the day, but I still preferred Duck Hunt and slightly more fantastic light gun games. More Disney, The Lion King, quite a fond game for many. This was released on many platforms, and well, I think to many the quintessential Disney platform game. Mickey Mania, more Disney, also released for the Super Nintendo. And Wonder Boy 3, Monster's Lair. Actually, I haven't really. This is my only Wonder Boy game, and haven't really. I'm ashamed to admit, haven't really gotten into the series, but maybe one day. Of course, one of the bigger names on old Sega consoles. Then we have Mortal Kombat, and of course this is famous for, on the Super Nintendo they censored out the blood, and everybody knows that Mega Drive or on Genesis they didn't censor anything, but actually that's not quite true. You still have to input a code in order to turn on the blood, so it was censored, but it still is here on the cartridge. Olympic Gold, a bold Coca-Cola logo here on the cover, priceless. And Powermonger, strategy game from EA and Bullfrog. Moving on to the lower shelf here, we got Revenge of Shinobi. There were a total of 3 Shinobi games on the Mega Drive, and they really are a great example of what was missing on the Super Nintendo. There were lots of these violent action games with street credibility on the Mega Drive, but not so much on the Super Nintendo, so these were really important games for Sega back in the day. Then we have Rise of the Robots, really one of the first examples of style over matter. Really great graphics, but quite dull and vacuous to play. This is a fighting game, and a really simple one at that, but I think it sold quite well thanks to the really gorgeous graphics. Road Rash 3, classic EA racing game. Rocket Knight Adventures, a platforming game, a really gorgeous one at that, and was exclusive to the Mega Drive. Then the second Shinobi game, Shadow Dancer, The Secret of Shinobi. Then Shadow of the Beast, which is of course better known for appearing on the Amiga, but there was also a port here on the Mega Drive. Really a unique game, adventure, platforming game. Really you get this feeling of another world. The music and the graphics are just so otherworldly. Really an atmospheric game. Then some RPGs. Shining Force 2, quite a traditional RPG, whereas of the same series, but Shining in the Darkness was a dungeon crawler, so quite a different game. There have been many installments in the Shining series on Mega Drive, Game Gear, Saturn, and yeah, great RPGs, lots of them. Then on to the Sonic games. Of course, Sonic's Spinball, a pinball game in the vein of Sonic. But of course, the main attraction here are the three platforming games: Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Sonic 3. Now, of course, being a Nintendo fan, I've always preferred Mario. Of course, the speed is impressive, and Sonic games look and sound really awesome. But I just never gotten into the gameplay that much. To me, it's a bit too much memorization, where you can run and jump at high speed, and when everything goes to plan, the games are quite nice to, levels are quite nice to run through. Here we have something a bit special with Sonic and Knuckles, the fourth platforming game on the Mega Drive, and this was something special with its cartridge here, which opens up. Sonic and Knuckles was a standalone game, but you could also plug in another cartridge here. If you plug in a Sonic 1, you get some special levels. If you plug in Sonic 2, you can play the game through with a Knuckles character, and if you plug in Sonic 3, you get one big adventure, Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles combined, with also stuff which doesn't appear on either games separately. So this is basically the ultimate Sonic 3 experience. So this was a really cool idea from Sega. And also Sonic 3D, Flicky's Island, had this isometric view and is of course quite different from the other platforming games. Space Harrier 2, some more arcade action from Sega. They had lots of these series, like I said. And also the sequel to Cool Spot, Spot Goes to Hollywood. Then Street Racer, a kart game, of course released after Mario Kart, but at least this had something going for it. With the multi-tab you could play with 4 players here. You get 4 slices of the same TV screen, so it's a bit squashed, but still something a bit special. Streets of Rage, probably the most known scrolling beat 'em up there is. There were 3 games released for the Mega Drive. I only have this first one, but it's really a classic for sure. Here we have one of my few Japanese games, and Strider, really classic platforming action game. Subterranea, Super Hang-On, again more arcade series ported over to the Mega Drive. Taz in Escape from Mars. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, as it was called here in Europe, the Hyperstone Heist. This is the Mega Drive's version of Turtles in Time. Then onto my really one of my favorite series on the Mega Drive, Thunder Force. Here we have Thunder Force 2 and Thunder Force 3. And finally Thunder Force 4. Now these are all horizontally scrolling shooters, and Thunder Force 4 it's actually probably it's really high up in my shooters top list, and as far as horizontal shooters go, it's probably the best there is for me. Absolutely fantastic action, power-ups, and music is gorgeous, just the right amount of difficulty, and yeah, you really need to get Thunder Force 4 and any of the other Thunder Force games, also if you like shooters. Still a few to go. Here's the Urban Strike I talked about previously. Just missing the Jungle Strike here on Mega Drive. And then Virtua Fighter 2. Now of course this was released again an arcade game first, but was released on the Saturn in all three dimensions. But this isn't a 3D fighting game. It has sprites for the characters, and the backgrounds don't move around, so this is basically a 2D fighter. But still nice that the Mega Drive got its own Virtua Fighter game as well. Of course, it was released on the 32X as a 3D game, but the 32X and Mega-CD, Sega-CD games are for another video. And finally here, another sports game, Winter Challenge. These compilation sports games are really fun with a couple of friends. And that was it for my Sega Mega Drive and the Genesis game collection. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.